I stood in front of the whole neighborhood, my daughter's bubble machine on the table and a swollen forehead, and I shouted that Karen pushed a 6-year-old then fined us $3,000. But when I exposed her secret with proof in my hands, the room turned silent, because what I revealed could tear the entire HOA apart. Labor Day on Hemlock Trace felt safe until Bubbles kissed the sunlight and Lark laughed. Karen cut through the laughter like a knife, barked, "Violation," shoved past me and pushed my daughter down. Lark's forehead hit the curb and swelled fast. She screamed my name through tears while Karen raised her clipboard like a badge, snapping photos, chanting bylaws, like a spell only bullies understand. Neighbors stared from porches on 12, 14, and 18 Hemlock Trace, flags barely moving, grills cooling. I lifted Lark, felt heat in the lump, and tasted metal fear in my mouth. Karen waved a notice, $3,000 fine for sidewalk hazard. She smirked at the bubble machine, kicked its cord loose, and whispered, "Order matters." Her phone camera pointed like a weapon. I looked at my gray temples in her screen. I felt decades of meetings, warnings, and late fees gathering behind my ribs like thunder. I whispered to Lark, "We're okay." The bubble machine wheezed quiet. Soap pooled by the curb, a thin rainbow skin. Karen leaned close. "Pay today or face collections." Before we continue, please drop a like and comment below with your country and what time it is right now where you're watching. Whether it's sunrise in Australia, midnight in New York, afternoon in Canada, or evening in France, I want to know. Don't just sit back, tell me where in the world you are. Now, let's dive into the story. Her perfume smelled like winter and closed doors. I stared past her, past cut lawns, perfect hedges, fake stone mailboxes, to my garage where a dusty binder waited behind paint cans and old baseballs. Receipts. Minutes. Emails. Evidence. My hands shook as I carried Lark toward my car. Karen stepped aside to film the tears. A hush fell like a lid on boiling water. Someone muttered, "Not again." I buckled Lark in and met Karen's eyes over the roof. She smiled. I smiled back, softly, like a man who had finally found the off switch for fear. "See you soon," I said. Karen blinked, confused by my calm. Because the next time we met, I wouldn't be alone. My binder would speak in every page. I moved to Bramble Ridge, Pennsylvania, 15 years earlier, a widower with a 3-year-old and a second-hand grill. The brochures promised community, trails, and peaceful, well-maintained living. Back then, the HOA president was a man named Dorian Grip. He smiled with all his teeth and shook hands like a salesman who never closed, always circling for another try. Karen Pelham chaired safety and aesthetics. She cared about mailbox colors and mulch sizes like surgeons care about hearts. Her voice was smooth until anything challenged order, then it snapped like cold glass. The bidous. I followed rules. I replaced my mailbox when an email said the number font looked too playful. I even took down Lark's chalk drawings from our walkway stones. At first, I thought the rules would keep us safe. Then came the ticket for my truck, night parking, and the warning about Lark's tricycle left unattended in our tiny courtyard. Karen's notes were always polite on top, sharp at the bottom. Please comply by Friday. Then, further noncompliance may result in escalated remedies. I learned remedies meant money, shame, pressure. I noticed a pattern. Board members' friends bent rules like warm plastic. Others bent until breaking. I started saving letters. Not to fight, I told myself, just to remember the truth. When I met a neighbor, Juniper Hale at 11 Hemlock Trace, she whispered, "Document everything." She pointed at Karen's door camera. "She records like a hobby." I nodded and quietly began. Years passed. Lark turned 6, loved bubbles, and the cul-de-sac turned into her Saturday kingdom. I never imagined her laughter would become the bait Karen had waited for. That morning, before the push, I had actually waved at Karen. I thought maybe peace had finally learned our names. I was wrong, and the proof was coming. The citation read like a sermon. Soap-based device created slippery conditions on common walkway. Child foot traffic present. Prior warnings about toys on shared property ignored. Fine, $3,000. Do immediately. I traced the words while Lark sat in urgent care at Stony Brook Road Clinic. The nurse, Mr. Banner, pressed an ice pack to her forehead and smiled kindly. Accident? He asked. I swallowed. Not exactly. He raised an eyebrow. You going to report it? I thought of Karen's camera, the crowd, and the rainbow sheen on the concrete. The doctor said it wasn't a concussion, just a nasty lump. Lark asked if bubbles were bad now, like they turned into a secret curse. No, I said. Bubbles are innocent. In the parking lot, my phone buzzed with an HO email titled, Incident. Photos attached, including Lark crying and me holding her. Karen's subject line, Urgent Safety Action Taken. I opened the trunk and pulled out the binder. Inside, meeting minutes where Karen approved her friend's patio pergola that violated height limits, and emails where urgent looked very different. There was a chart I kept. Names, addresses, violations, outcomes. Dorian's cousin left a trampoline all summer, received a friendly reminder. Juniper's wind chime exceeded length. She got a $500 fine. I also had video. A Halloween clip of Karen scattering fake cobwebs across the sidewalk, laughing, "It's slippery," while kids in costumes slid on soap bubbles from her fog machine. I remembered Mr. Banner's question. You going to report it? I texted him back. I might need a statement. He replied with a time tomorrow and a simple, I saw the bruise. I closed the trunk. Lark slept with the ice pack tilted. The binder felt heavier than any toolbox. I started the car and pointed home toward more than one kind of repair. Back on Hemlock Trace, dusk painted the street a bruised purple. Juniper stood on her porch with a mason jar of tea, eyes bright. Heard. Is Lark okay? She'll be fine, I said. This isn't. I held up the notice. Juniper's mouth tightened. Karen finally did it, she said. She's been measuring our lives with a ruler. Across the street, Mr. Angelos from 18 leaned on his cane. They fined me for ivy touching the sidewalk, he said. But Dorian's son parks sideways like he owns the sun. I passed the binder to Juniper. She leafed through. You kept everything? She asked. I nodded. Since 2013. Her finger paused on a photo, Karen's Halloween fog machine glistening the sidewalk. That was the year my niece slipped, Juniper whispered. No fine then. She looked at Lark's window. Let me call a few folks. She vanished inside like she trained for this. By 8, the cul-de-sac hummed. Neighbors gathered in small clusters, whispering, remembering. Photos appeared on phones. Copies of warnings. Screenshots of polite threats. 1,000 small cuts mapped into a wound. We laid pages on my truck bed, a paper river under porch lights. Lark woke briefly, touched her bandage, and slept again while adults arranged proof like puzzle pieces. We need a meeting, Juniper said. A special one. Mr. Angelos nodded. Petition first. 10 signatures force it. My heart thumped. I could see Karen's blinds twitch across the street. A new voice spoke from the shadows near 9 Hemlock Trace. It was Rowan Ely, a quiet man with a long memory. I used to audit nonprofits, he said. Let me see finances. He held up his laptop. If they're sloppy with fairness, they might be sloppy with money. The porch lights flickered. Somewhere a screen door closed. Tomorrow suddenly had a shape. Rowan spread spreadsheets across my hood, numbers glowing pale green. Here's dues collected, he said. Here's vendor payments. Here's something strange, repetitive, consulting charges to Pelham Neighborhood Services. Karen's company? Juniper breathed. Rowan nodded. Filed under third-party safety assessments. Looks like approvals never went to a full vote. Amounts under the audit threshold, smuggled in monthly. I flipped more pages in the binder, meeting minutes with lines missing, approvals listed as informal consensus, signatures stamped by Dorian's initials. My stomach turned like a chair with one broken leg. Juniper pulled up screenshots from the community forum. Look at comments on pergola exceptions. 4 names praising the board, all traced to the same IP block. She squinted. Dorian's office. Mr. Angelos tapped his cane. They used the rules to police us and the silence to pay themselves. He looked at Lark's window again. Enough sermons. Let's pick a hymn. We wrote the petition. Call special meeting, review safety practices, financial transactions, board elections, and conduct on Labor Day incident. 10 signatures came fast, like rain waking a dry roof. Rowan drafted a request for records under Pennsylvania's planned community statutes. He used words like inspection rights and reasonable time. Karen understood money and menace. We would speak her language. I printed the Halloween photo of Karen's bubbles on concrete, kids sliding, her laughter frozen mid-breath. Beside it, I clipped today's fine. Hypocrisy fits neatly when truth is measured. Before midnight, a message flashed in the forum, petition invalid. Format incorrect. The author, Dorian. He attached a correct template that conveniently required board pre-approval. Juniper snorted. Nice try. Rowan grinned. We'll hand-deliver notarized copies at sunrise. Certified mail too. I looked at Lark sleeping on the couch and felt steady for the first time. From Karen's driveway, a car door slammed. Headlights swept across our papers and paused. Dorian's sedan idled. He watched us, then drove away. Tomorrow got louder. At 7:05 a.m., we met at the little brick post office on Marshall's Pike. Rowan mailed certified letters. Juniper filmed the receipts. I slid copies into Karen's mailbox slot. By noon, the board posted a notice. Special meeting, tomorrow, 6 p.m., Bramble Ridge Pavilion. The message allowed resident comments, limited to 1 minute per household. 60 seconds, Juniper said, incredulous. We'll form a line. Mr. Angelos raised his cane like a flag. I'll practice speed talking. We laughed, short and tired, like people stretching before a race. I spent the afternoon with Lark, building a fort out of blankets and calm words. She asked why Karen pushed her. I said, sometimes people confuse power with safety, sweetheart. At 5, a knock. Rowan stood with a flash drive. Financials, he said. Pulled publicly filed bits, matched vendor names. There's enough smoke to set off sprinklers. We tested the pavilion speakers with a portable mic. The autumn air smelled like wet leaves and hot pretzels from a food truck across Sable Creek Road. The sky bruised again. Just before sunset, Karen marched past with Dorian, both in matching navy blazers. She glanced at my binder, then at Lark's bandage, then back at the pavilion door. Remember your minute, she said. Her smile didn't reach her eyes. I felt that same old taste of metal in my mouth, then let it dissolve. We'll use it well. Juniper squeezed my shoulder. When you speak, tell the whole thing. Start with bubbles. End with money. I nodded. The bubble machine sat in my trunk, cleaned and ready. As night fell, phones buzzed. An anonymous text, careful. Board will shut down comments for decorum. They've done it before. I looked at the mic and thought about backup plans. We brought 2 battery speakers and a generator. If they closed the door, we would open the air outside. Tomorrow wouldn't be their room, it would be our street. The pavilion filled with folding chairs and restless neighbors. Dorian called the meeting to order, voice wrapped in polite ribbon. Karen arranged papers like a magician hiding cards. I carried the bubble machine to the front, set it on the table, and didn't plug it in. People murmured. Lark sat beside Juniper, hand on her ice pack headband. Resident comments, Dorian announced. 1 minute. He pointed at me first, maybe to rush. I stepped to the mic and let the air fill with that heavy, waiting silence. My name is Calder Knox, 12 Hemlock Trace, I said. On Labor Day, my 6-year-old laughed at bubbles. Then your safety chair pushed her so hard she hit curb and cried. A hush fell, like a page turning. I held up the $3,000 notice. You fined us for slippery sidewalks. But last Halloween she made them slippery. No fine. Why? I tapped the bubble machine. This plastic thing costs $20. It makes joy. You make fear. We have photos, receipts, minutes. We have the right to inspect the books. Rowan stepped forward, handed a packet labeled Pelham Neighborhood Services. He spoke fast. Unvoted payments. Repeated vendor names. Board initials on approvals without quorum. Residents request full independent audit. Karen stood, voice cool. Defamation. Dorian banged the gavel. Decorum. A ripple of voices answered, let him finish. I finished. We're done paying for silence. We want fairness. Dorian whispered with Karen. He turned back, smile strained. This meeting is adjourned due to disorder. He started to stand. The crowd, finally one voice, shouted, no. Juniper hit the generator. Our speakers hummed to life. The pavilion door opened to night air and neighbors with signs that read, rules for all, and safety isn't a weapon. Dorian froze. Karen's phone filmed again. The moment held like a breath underwater. Then a calm voice from the back said, I am Officer Miles Crane. Keep talking. Officer Crane stepped forward, uniform dusty from a day that had already needed him. I'm here as a resident, he said, and as the person who took Monday's calls. He looked at Lark's bandage and then at the bubble machine. We received a report of assault with a child endangerment hazard, he said. From Ms. Pelham, submitted before the incident. A gasp moved like wind through tall grass. Before? Juniper asked. Officer Crane nodded. Time-stamped 9 minutes earlier. And we have doorcam video of the push. We'll handle that separately. Karen's jaw tightened. Dorian's smile evaporated. Rowan raised his hand. About the money? Officer Crane gestured. Civil matter. But transparency is good policing for neighborhoods. He stepped back, neutral. I clicked a remote. The pavilion's small projector lit the canvas wall. Photos appeared. Karen's Halloween fog machine sliding soap across the same sidewalk. Kids laughing. Her caption, slippery fun. Next slide, the fine against us. Next, pergola exception. Next, duplicate vendor payments. A low murmur turned into something firmer, like wheels finding pavement after a skid. Motion to suspend fines related to inconsistent enforcement, Mr. Angelos shouted. Second, voices answered. Dorian protested. No quorum. Rowan waved papers. More than 50 households signed. Quorum achieved. Karen slammed her folder shut. You all love chaos, she said. Rules prevent chaos. I answered softly. Rules prevent harm when they're shared by everyone, not used like a hammer. Officer Crane stepped to the mic. We'll take statements about Monday. If anyone tries to stop you, speak to me. He nodded to Lark. Kiddo, I like bubbles too. Karen lifted her phone higher. You'll regret this. I met her lens. Maybe. But I won't regret telling the truth. The projector whirred. The air smelled like wet leaves and electricity. Dorian rubbed his temples. 5-minute recess, he said. Outside, thunder muttered. We didn't plan thunder. Sometimes weather picks a side without asking anyone's permission. When they returned, Karen was gone. The empty chair looked like a missing tooth. Dorian cleared his throat. Safety chair has recused herself pending investigation, he said, voice suddenly small. Rowan presented a short, sharp list. Suspend disputed fines, appoint interim safety committee from residents, authorize third-party audit, schedule new board elections within 30 days. He wrote it big and plain. I spoke last. I don't want revenge, I said, feeling the truth like a steady plank under my feet. I want trust to live here again. I want kids to laugh. Juniper read the motion. Neighbors raised hands. Ayes. The air lifted. Nays. 2 hands shaky. Motion carried. Someone started clapping. It spread like a summer storm clearing heat from sidewalks. Officer Crane stepped forward. For the record, he said, statements about the push will be taken after adjournment. Keep your phones ready. He nodded at me. Mr. Knox, we'll talk. I looked at Lark. She hugged my leg, brave and sleepy. Are bubbles okay again? She asked. They never stopped, I said. She smiled in that way that fixes ceilings and hearts. As the crowd thinned, Dorian approached, eyes red-rimmed. I never wanted this, he muttered. Then you should have wanted fairness more, I said. He nodded, tears threatening, and walked into the dark. Rowan packed the projector. Juniper folded chairs. Mr. Angelos tapped his cane to a rhythm that sounded like home. The pavilion lights hummed softer, like a house exhaling after guests. My phone buzzed. An email. Fine rescinded pending review. Another. Temporary restraining order requested by Ms. Pelham. I stared at the second subject line and felt the next hill rising. I put the bubble machine on the passenger seat. On the way home, rain began, tiny first, then bold. It washed the soap stains from Labor Day straight into the storm drains. 2 weeks later, Karen's restraining order request was denied. Officer Crane's report went to the DA. Community elections were scheduled. Rowan's audit flagged the consulting payments for full investigation. Karen moved out at dawn on a Wednesday, a truck from Old Pike Movers idling by her trimmed hedges. She wore sunglasses though the morning sky was pale and soft. Dorian resigned the same day, posting a letter that sounded like apology learning to walk. I forgot why we serve, he wrote. I forgot that rules are promises, not weapons. At the new election, Juniper became safety chair. Mr. Angelos joined as community wellness. I declined a position. I wanted to be a neighbor again, not a courtroom in shoes. We passed a simple amendment. No enforcement may occur without equal application. We added another. No recording of children for enforcement purposes. The community signed with pens that felt lighter. On the last warm Saturday of the year, we wheeled out the bubble machine at the cul-de-sac. Lark pressed the button. Soap lifted into the blue like tiny planets. A crowd cheered. Officer Crane clapped. Rowan filmed, this time for joy. Juniper handed out towels and hot cider. The concrete stayed dry. We learned to set it on the grass. People hugged us. Not because we won, but because we stopped losing ourselves. Bubbles popped on our sleeves and no one sent a letter about order or risk or fines. I knelt by Lark. The faint mark on her forehead looked like a small moon. Does it hurt? I asked. She shook her head. Feels brave, she said. I believed her. When the last bubble burst, the street felt quiet in a good way. We packed the machine and waved. At 12 Hemlock Trace, I locked the door and finally slept.